English translation 294th contact Saturday, 3rd February 2001, 0011 hours.
Welcome, my friend. I guess you were just waiting for us to finally finish the General Assembly.
You have grasped the correctness because I really hoped that your session would not last too long. Often you do not get to the end until well after midnight, and only in the first or second hour of the morning.
That is just the way it is. You know the reasons for that. Palaver, palaver.
Yes, I know that. But look here, during our conversation you can copy these aphorisms that you wrote during your childhood and adolescence, and that my father Svath recorded and left me.
Oh yes, I asked you on your last visit if Svath had left any of my aphorismic words. Nice that you could find something. I try to copy the whole thing while you are here, in order to clean it up later with the machine.
There are very valuable words and wisdoms that you have already nurtured as a child. But there will be many Earth humans who do not want to admit that you have already shaped these words as a child, because they correspond more to the meaning and thinking of older and wiser humans than to the senses and thoughts of a child or adolescent. For many it will be incomprehensible and unacceptable that you have dealt with these aphorisms already as a young boy and then as a young man, and coined your own words about them.
You will probably be right about that, Ta, and I will have to live with that, because the envious, know-it-alls and critics, etc., will certainly not give peace. But that does not scare me, but rather encourages me to publish some aphorisms from my childhood and adolescence in our Wassermann Zeitschrift Aquarian Age newsletter, with the date when they were written. As I can see here, all dates are given.
Of course you can do that.
Did you find anything related to this that Svath recorded, or is that all you brought here?
No, it is not everything, because there are a lot more. I will be able to bring you some more little by little.
Thank you very much for that. Ah, yes, unfortunately I'm not quite finished with the work I should do for you. Here, that is what is already done. The rest I will do later. I mean, after our official conversation, if you have some patience. You would have to wait about 15 or 20 minutes.
Of course.
You can read a few lines in my new book, which I am working on, along with various other duties. The title of the new work will probably be related to the Earth humans and my wishes for them. Like this: Human being of the Earth, I wish you. Maybe there is also a second title if I choose another topic.
It will be a pleasure for me because I enjoy very much your style of writing. It is detailed and concise, always gets to the heart of the matter, and leaves no doubt if you deal with it honestly and neutrally.
Thank you for your esteemed opinion, which pleases me to hear. But first of all, may I pester you with questions, because there are some I would like to have answered from you.
It would not make sense to say no, because you would only ask me again later.
Nothing remains hidden from you. Good then. Who will become the new Prime Minister of Israel?
Unfortunately, it will be the man who is considered the #1 enemy of Arabia in the Arab world, especially with regard to Arab Palestine, where he is described as a thoughtless and unscrupulous mass murderer.
Then it can only be Ariel Sharon.
That corresponds to correctness.
Oh my, then some evil is to be expected in the coming time, because Sharon is a fearsome Israelist and fanatic without equal.
Unfortunately, you will be right if what you call a miracle does not happen, and I am referring to Sharon's attitude, machinations, and goals.
That brings me to the second question that refers to the new American President George W. Bush. That he too is a fanatic, not only in terms of his nationalism and other things, and especially in terms of defending and applying the death penalty, is well known throughout the world. And I would like to know, particularly with regard to the death penalty, whether you are aware of the number of innocent people Bush executed during his time as governor of Texas. As I know, you control and register these things worldwide, among many other things.
During his short term as governor, he had 47 innocent people executed.
And what do you think of the man himself, or how do you see his predispositions, etc.?
Bush is a power-obsessed good-for-nothing who walks unscrupulously over corpses, as you tend to call it. He knows neither a real responsibility to life, guilty or innocent, nor does he shy away from using the worst means to achieve his ends and goals. More is actually not to be said about it.
That should be enough. Good. Then I am once again at Carlos Diaz from Tepoztlan in Mexico. You once said that his story was not true, but a pure invention, which he presented so well in acting that it would arouse credibility in the audience, whereby even real experts in the field of UFO research would fall for him.
That is right. The story presented by Carlos Diaz, that he had or still has had contacts with extraterrestrials or with occupants of extraterrestrial flying bodies, so-called light ships, corresponds to a well-considered fiddling that is unique in the whole history of so-called ufology. Also different of his photos and video recordings do not correspond to reality, but are so perfectly made forgeries that even experts of UFO research fall for them, as well as film trick specialists and military UFO reconnaissance specialists, etc., it cannot be denied. However, that he was also able to take a few real pictures of unknown flying objects, such as bioorganic missiles, which you know from your own experience and whose facts you are aware of. Diaz often had the opportunity to do so, especially for such pictures, because especially in the near and far surroundings of Tepoztlan bioorganic, as well as extraterrestrial flying bodies often appear, as well as terrestrial luminous gas objects. This is in addition to secret military objects that are tested there in the environment, often at nighttime, where they can be perceived as noiseless, luminous objects. Such phenomena have also occurred several times, and occur again and again, when ufological elucidations have been carried out by Diaz, etc., whereby the researchers have always been misled. That Diaz then claimed in each case that they were extraterrestrial flying objects in connection with him should only be clear. One day, when he heard about your story and about your film and photo shoots, the thought matured in him that he could achieve the same effect by fiddling around, especially because it was known all around that in the nearer and farther surroundings of Tepoztlan, the most diverse luminous missiles and flying machines appeared, which were also seen by many witnesses. So, in addition to the illuminated models, which he usually filmed and photographed at night, because in the day the swindle would have been uncovered due to wires and cords, etc., he also constructed the unbelievably wheeling and dealing-based stories that he had come into contact with the beings of the light ships.
Some real photos of real phenomena taken by him, however, do not make things better, more honest, or more real.
Certainly not. But this also applies to other lying allegations by several persons that tell misleading stories about being in contact with aliens.
There, America is especially big with such liars, but also Germany and Japan with different other countries. Even in Papal Italy, this is the case several times, and also here in Switzerland. Recently also in the Czech Republic, where a woman claims to be in contact with you.
This lie is also known to me, as all similar lies that emanate from Japan, Australia, Germany, Italy, and America, etc., are. In fact, there is no person on the earth other than you who is in personal, physical, or telepathic contact with us, as we have already explained several times. But anyone who claims otherwise is guilty of lies, deceit, swindles, or charlatanism. There is no spiritual or material level in our Pleiaran or Pleiadian Federation from which a being or a collective is in any kind of contact with any human being on the Earth. You are and remain the only human being on the Earth in this relationship. The pure tele-impulse contacts cannot be considered because they are not consciously perceived by any being, but only subconsciously in a form that they never penetrate consciousness as conscious values.
Yes, you have explained that many times before. But still there are always some weak-minded ones who do not understand your message and claim that they have contact with you or other Pleiades or Pleiaran, either in physical or telepathic form.
This corresponds to correctness, but the whole thing only came about with it after the contact conversations between us and you were spread around the world, after which we Pleiadians Pleiaran were then used and are used as a model for the lying, deceitful and swindling earthly elements by the conscienceless and irresponsible who, addicted to images and greedy for money, try to puff up their non-existent character and personality values and lead their believers astray.
All clear too. Look here. These are 2 brochures from 2 altruistic associations that help cerebrally handicapped children, the Selbstständig Association and the Delphin Association. In addition, I had the idea that we could support both associations in the form of the Active Alliance, both financially and by distributing brochures at our info stands for financial help and membership for the associations. What do you think? Here, please read the brochures and the flyer.
I find this very intentional regarding the Active Alliance. In addition, the group or the association FIGU can expand and strengthen its own name and its own work on all levels.
That is what I thought. I also thought that we could print the necessary brochures for the clubs from our Active Alliance page. The clubs pay 85 centimes and 35 centimes per piece for very small print runs, which is a lot.
Also, this idea I find very good.
Good. You know the thing about bulletin number 11 that the head guru Claude Vorillon, alias Rael of the Rael sect, quoted me in court for alleged personality violation. We printed a total of 320 bulletins, which of course were all distributed and sent out. Now I thought it would be best if we did a recall for this number 11 bulletin. What do you think?
I think you are doing good with it.
Then I would have a lot to discuss with you in private later on regarding the website on the internet, if you can spare some time for that.
I have enough time today. And if you do not want your request to be dealt with officially, then so be it.
Thank you. We once talked about whether animals can dream as well as humans. I remember that you explained, as did Quetzal and Simyase, that all life forms, regardless of genus and species, are classified as dreaming if they have a functioning brain. As you have said, there is no need for conscious consciousness, because a pure instinct drive consciousness is sufficient for dream formation. But in my opinion, this means that every instinctive instinct consciousness also stores day impressions, etc., which can even take weeks, months, and years to establish themselves and produce their effects in dreams, as is the case with humans. Again, this also means, as I see it at least, that animal life forms of all kinds, as well as birds, fish, reptiles, and beetles and worms, etc., must have an instinct drive memory in which, so to speak, instinct drive memories are stored. Have I understood that correctly?
You have not forgotten anything, but you have added something by your thinking. What you say corresponds to correctness.
You sound more and more like Quetzal with your "it" corresponds to correctness. But if this is so, as I explained, then it also means that all animal living beings, all birds and reptiles and the beetle and worms, which have an instinct drive consciousness and thus in some way a functioning brain, must logically also be classified into an instinct drive emotional form, and further also into an instinct drive psychic form. Is that right?
Your execution needs no further explanation. But what I would like to say something about is the rail sect thing. It is incomprehensible to me that the Swiss judiciary would even accept a complaint from the sect leader because your statements do not contain any inaccuracies or untruths.
That is part of the illogical laws we have here in Switzerland. By these unreal laws, it is forbidden and punishable to officially tell the truth. For this reason, I can be prosecuted for publicly naming the sect chiefs fiddling and using terms that the court describes as offensive to personality as those of the sect guru. But let us not do that, because it is of no use. We can only wait and see what happens in the second instance with regard to a judgment. But if we are talking about sects, then I would like to hear your word about the nonsense that the sectarian hooligans are letting go of themselves, which also applies to the rail movement leader. So, the sect gurus and also all alleged contact persons who want to be in physical or telepathic connection with extraterrestrials or people of other dimensions consistently claim that the extraterrestrials or people of other dimensions are gods, saints, messengers of God, or angels, etc., but at least salvation bringer, who want to save the Earth humans from destruction, etc. These assertions also exist in relation to you Pleiadians, and especially to you. When I think of the wheeling and dealing sexual assertions of those who are supposedly in contact with you or with other Pleiadians, I am thinking especially of Janny King, Barbara Marciniak, Fred Bell, and Penny McLean and others. Of course, Carlos Diaz must not be forgotten, any more than Siracusa and many others who are doing business with people other than you. But also, Carlos Diaz made such hidden hints that his alleged contacts could be traced back to you, Pleiadian. By the way, do you know the videos that were shot about him?
I even know them very well. Partly they are very professional and partly very stupid in relation to the alleged evidence. By this I mean the production of the original material by Diaz.
You once said that he had equipped his lightships, the alleged UFOs, that is to say, the alleged extraterrestrial aircrafts, which he hung up and photographed in the most different areas at thin wires, cords, or with fishing line, usually in the night, with electronics, and thereby brought the light of the models remotely controlled to the glow or to the extinguished. You said that he had used a small transmitter in his pocket, which his companions could not see when he had some with him. So he was able to deceive TV teams and UFO experts.
You are also in possession of the videos. If you like, I can explain various things about the recordings that were undoubtedly falsified and not recognized by the experts.
Today, I do not have enough time, because I still have some things to do for you, so that you can take it with you. In connection with the allegations of the sect gurus and the false contact persons, it should also be mentioned that, in addition to you, enemies, know-it-alls, and critics, etc., also prove me to be a liar of the kind that I would call myself an omniscient and savior. But I have never done this, and will never do so, for I see myself only as a mediator between you and the human beings of the earth, and as a messenger of the teaching of the Spirit. What do you say?
There can be no question of this, for you have never seen yourself as an omniscient or savior since your early childhood and until today. Nor have you ever spoken such nonsense. Such a thinking, feeling, or doing would fall completely out of your nature and contradict your whole being.
And what do you think about our association Figu being called a sect?
This is absolute nonsense in every respect, including religiously and politically. Those who call the association a cult are either pathologically envious, vengeful, know-it-all, hateful, or simply uneducated. A sect has nothing to do with what the association Figu does. The term sect is, in any case, a politically or religiously conditioned community or group, or a worldview community equal to it. This also includes philosophical communities or groupings which, like the other communities or groupings, have split off from the mother community, and partly reject its teachings and/or supplement them with special revelations. A sect always has a form of totalitarianism and claims omniscience and salvation. A sect is also presided over by an authority, a male or female person who claims to be chosen and who teaches that his or her word is law and recommendation, given to them by a power superior to them, who are in the religious sectarian system, God, Jesus Christ, angels, or saints. The sects and their teachers and leaders follow their own forms of devotion, life, and organization, as well as ritual and cult, which differ from their community of origin. In many cases, sects are tremendously fundamentalist, conservative, narrow-minded, fanatical, and radical, as well as intolerant, blind faithful, and even wrong and only partial to their own advantages. Thinking outside the norms of their sectarian teachings is foreign to them or simply forbidden, because the real truth must not be found.
And what do you think about what I asked you earlier?
Ah, yes.
Of course, that fell out of my mind. We Pleiadians, Plei-Aran, do not come to earth as gods, angels, saints, or the like, and we also do not come to bring salvation, peace, freedom, love, knowledge, wisdom, and progress to the earthly world and to earthly humans. For all these values must be laboriously worked out by the earth human himself or herself through their reason and understanding, as well as through their thinking, feeling, and acting. So we also do not solve any problems for the earth humans, because just as we are not saviors, we are also not omniscient, who we could solve and master all problems and evils. So we are not ultimate saviors either, but only simple people who do not raise themselves above the earth humans or other humans in the universe, even if we are generally higher developed in all things than the earth humans, etc. We only come here in the obligation of bringing certain values of knowledge, etc., to the earth humans through you, as well as through tele-impulse impressions, etc., unconscious for the earth human, which he or she must grasp and compile to knowledge themselves. And as I said, as mediator between the earth human and us, serves thereby our only contact person living on earth, namely you, Edward, to whom you are called Billy, according to your destiny, together with the name Edward Albert Meyer, given to you at birth. And you too, as our messenger, are not omniscient and not salutary, for knowledge and salvation must be created by the earth human himself or herself.
That is clear, thank you. Then to the next question. What about the use of uranium ammunition in the Gulf War and the Kosovo-Serbia War, which since then has led to many soldiers and civilians falling ill with leukemia and dying of leukemia? Is that true?
That is unfortunately the sad truth. But to make the whole thing understandable to the non-scientifically educated as well, I have to explain it in a simple way. Uranium is used in wartime projectiles to achieve greater penetration of the target object, so that even tanks and thickest bunker walls can be cracked and destroyed. This process separates from the uranium nucleation of wafer-thin dust, which floats around or is stirred up when humans or animals come into the area of the uranium dust and inhale it, causing them to fall ill and often die. One of the main causes of this disease is leukemia. However, it must be said that it is not uranium alone that is the decisive factor leading to the fatal diseases, but rather the plutonium with which the uranium projectiles are impregnated. Plutonium is the real great danger factor.
That can be understood. Expert talk would only lead to a lack of understanding.
I agree with this view. It has to be said, however, that those responsible for the use of ammunition deny or trivialize everything, of course, both those responsible for the Americans and those of NATO, but this is well known.
Well, again and again the question arises whether the character can be inherited. In my opinion, this should not be the case, because during my whole life, I have never noticed that descendants have the same character as one or the other parent. Therefore, I assume that each person forms his or her own individual character. First, this happens through the basic character formation that takes place during pregnancy in the mother's womb. This is followed by the educational character, which is formed by education and environmental influences during the first 7 years of life. And finally, through self-education, the character of life is formed, which results from the first 2 character forms and from the character of self-education.
The character cannot be inherited and is therefore not genetically conditioned. The actual character, which you correctly call life character, is formed by the basic character or pregnancy and prenatal character, as well as by the educational character and the self-educational character, as you have correctly explained. All 3 stages of character formation are therefore decisive for the final character form, the character of life. The entire process of character formation takes place in the limbic system, in which the instance of morality is located.
This is probably the instance that decides on the negative and positive as well as on the good and bad or honest and dishonest thinking, feeling, and acting.
You can also explain it this manner.
Good. Neptune, do you see this chunk as an asteroid or as a planet?
We call it a planet.
Does it belong to the so-called Kuiper Belt, or what it is called, or is it an independent entity?
The planet has an independence.
And is there another larger entity outside its orbit?
That is the case, yes. But the time is not yet ripe enough to talk openly about it.
Did you know the writer Heinrich Heine?
Yes.
Personally?
No, of course not. I only knew him as a result of our clarifications and observations, etc.
Sure, then you can also give me some information about him?
Certainly.
Well then, it is reported that he was very ill for a long time and suffered from a severe spinal cord disease or something. Such or similar things are reported in any case. Can you tell me what disease he really suffered from?
I do not have to make a secret out of it. It was not a normal illness that Heinrich Heine had fallen for, but an artificial one that was caused by the guilt of his wife, Crescence Eugenie Mirat, called Matilda. Slowly and systematically she poisoned Heinrich Heine with the so-called inheritance sugar, as the creeping poison lead acetate was called at that time. The reason for her murderous actions was because Heine terrorized her with his boundless jealousy to such an extent that she was driven to the brink of despair. As a result, in her distress, she took to murder and repeatedly administered certain amounts of lead acetate to her husband over a long period of time, causing him to suffer for a long time and often to suffer great pain. But it was not until the 17th of February 1856 that he came to an end in Paris, when he passed away under extremely painful cramps. 104. Heinrich Heine was not only uncontrollable and boundlessly jealous, but he also had an intimate relationship with his lover Elise Krinitz, who was called Mouche. With her he betrayed his wife, which was another reason for her to hate her husband and poison him, but which she knew how to masterfully conceal to the outside world, and consequently never came to light that she murdered her abysmally jealous husband in a horrible manner.
That is a thing. Of course, no letter was passed down.
Since no one was aware of the real facts, this would hardly have been possible.
Of course. Stupid what I said. But tell me, the Faisal family from the Allgäu, you know them, do not you?
Certainly. You have already asked me about it once.
Oh, yeah, but we did not officially talk about it. So can you say what this family is all about?
I can do that. The people claim against better knowledge that they would have contacts to extraterrestrials. But everything is just a shemming, because there is not a single true word in the whole story that is told about them.
In this respect, John Holy alias John Van Helsing also ghosts around, whereby also the company Aldebaran is called.
All I can say again is that everything is a primitive scheming. Now I would like to point out to you that a long time ago I expressed the wish that you should select your best articles from the monthly magazine Wasser Manzeit and make a book with them. So far nothing has changed in this matter.
Oy vey, I completely forgot. I will try to get a corresponding agenda item at the next AGM. Who should do the work? Is there even a provision for it?
No, there is no provision for it, but I think that a group member or 2 or 3 can be found to do this extensive work.
Easily said, but hard to do. But, as promised, I'm going to do an item on the agenda.
This is also my wish.
Of course. But tell me, some time ago, a Saturn moon was discovered again that orbits the failed small sun at a distance of about 15 million kilometers. It is said that the object should be 10 to 50 kilometers in size. Also, I would like to ask you, what is with the moons of Jupiter? There is also still some, which must be discovered by the earthly stargazers.
These so-called moons have nothing to do with the actual moons, because they are asteroids captured by the giants and space wanderers, etc., the latter being smuggled in from far outside the Neptune orbit. This refers both to certain objects that are located in the region of Saturn and to those that belong to Jupiter or other Sol planets.
Thank you. Now a question about the new contact report books. The first book is almost complete. When should we continue working on it?
Only when the witness book can finally be printed. The time is running out.
I know. Bernadette is also working hard to finish the witness book.
That is good.
I agree. And that brings me to the end with everything I had to ask and say. Are you reachable again next time?
I will be far away from the Earth. Florina is, however, accessible for you for the next time, if you need it. And Jana is also present in the earthly space.
Then I now get stuck behind the work I still have to do for you. Here, in this folder, you will find the first pages of my new book.
Thanks. You do not have to hurry. So work in peace.
I will, my friend.
What I want to say before I delve into your new work. Tonight you have your general meeting, and I would ask you to convey our deepest thanks and greetings to all the members of the group for all their constant efforts and progress, and for their faithfulness to the mission. In particular, my daughters Simya, Se, and Plasia, Quetzal, Asket, and Florina, and many others, and of course also myself, are to be mentioned, who wish to express our gratitude and greetings to you all.
Of course I will do what you want me to do.
Then turn now to your work, for which I have to give you the due thanks from all our spiritual leadership.
But now it is enough. You know that I like to do it, and that I am not eager for thanks. Work is a matter of course for me.
Nevertheless, I also have new concerns which I have to bring to you.
That is all right, but let us leave it at that. When I am done with the work, we can discuss as usual everything private, and with it also your new concerns of spiritual leadership.
So be it.
So I am done. Unfortunately, it took a little longer than I thought. Here you go.
There is no need to apologize. On the other hand, I did not have much time to read your new work. As usual, it is to be said that everything is good and valuable and will bring many Earth humans remarkable things that will be of inestimable value to them. What is written is excellent and beneficial for every human being on the earth when he or she deals with it.
Thank you for your evaluation. But now we should turn to the unofficial and private things.
Yes, we really should.